Hi, everybody. I'm Frank Stanishi of Open Forum, Candid Frank, and Live. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Zingo, both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now joining me is Robert Bratina, Mayor Robert Bratina. Okay, I'll call you Bob. Bob.
Robert is whenever somebody calls and says hello, Robert, I just hang up the phone because I know it's not a friend.
Well, I don't want you. I don't want you hanging up on me. So,
Well,
I've had the pleasure of sitting beside you during some charitable events. The CFL is something that you are well briefed on very quickly. Um, how are you doing with the CFL? How much are you loving the way the Ticats are playing?
they've had an up and down season. I'm still loving the stadium, which is and the reason for that is I ran for mayor because the previous mayor had basically screwed up the whole stadium thing, and we were about to lose the stadium and maybe the Tiger Cats, who might have had to move somewhere else. So I got the stadium done, and it's one of my prides and joys. And everybody seems to enjoy it. The Grey Cup was good. Well, women's soccer was great. The Forge are doing great. So that side of it is good. The Tiger Cats are still trying to find their kind of team character a little bit, I would say. But I think they're going to get over the hump. They had a so-so start, but they're good people. Steinhauer's a great coach. We'll see what happens.
They're a much better team than they've shown. That's the way I've seen it and the way I've broadcasted it. So yeah, I think they're a much better team, and the rest of the teams in the East better be careful. And the way the West is playing, it's going to be even more of a concern. So you
But,
used to be the play-by-play guy of the CFL's Toronto Argonauts. How did you do that?
well, I was for 20 years. I did CFL radio broadcasts. If I lived in Hamilton, I did the Tiger Cats. When I went to CFRB in Toronto, and then later to Talk 640, I did the Argonauts. But I think I did 11 seasons with the Cats and 9 seasons with the Argos. Incidentally, a reflection on my history with the team. Anthony Calvillo, you'll recall, had a very rough go with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and he ended up being one of the greatest quarterbacks in history. You know who else had a tough start with the Tiger Cats and is now becoming one of the greatest is Zach Collaros. It
Absolutely.
reminds me very much of the Anthony Calvillo story. Anyway, that's my.
Yeah, no. Calvillo. Well, anyway, the reason I wanted to mention it is because you're a friend of the CFL, and we love the CFL here. Candid Frank Live is the name of a show, CFL. No coincidence.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
so that's when I invented the name. I wanted something that reflected the Canadian Football League. Now, for me, I cover it because I feel like it's necessary. I'm here in Toronto. I need to be involved. I have to be involved because I see something I don't like. I
Right.
heard the conversation you were having, and you hinted to it right now. That part of the reason why you want to be mayor again is because you don't like the way things are going. Correct?
That's right. Yeah. Nobody does really. It's generally felt that way in the city.
Yeah. So, when you talked about Tim Hortons Field coming to you, we have lots of stories across this country, and this broadcast goes across the country. Before the pandemic, it looked like in Nova Scotia, Halifax had $20 million that the city was willing to kick in to get a team there. The difficulty now with being mayor of Hamilton and going into Hamilton, are there priorities that have also brought you into wanting to be elected, because really the pencils are a lot sharper right now than they would have been if there wasn't a pandemic?
Yeah, one of my things is as a son of an immigrant, we survived by living within our means. Live within your means, do as much as you can for yourself, make the most of what you have. I apply that to the economics of a city. When I was the mayor, the budget, annual mayor's office budget, was about $1 million a year. In 4 years, I returned $1.3 million that I didn't spend out of my budget. I was trying to lead by example. Of course, things are worse now because interest rates, inflation, the COVID disconnect. People who now. A friend of mine just opened a restaurant. I said, "I'll see you for lunch." She said, "We can't open for lunch. We can't get people." So there's all those problems that are going on. And one of the biggest problems that people won't understand until perhaps this campaign is finished, because it will become a topic. When I see old acquaintances from City Hall, they know I'm running for mayor again. They say, "What are you, crazy? We're trying to get out of there." There's a somewhat of a toxic workplace atmosphere in that city, and you can find it in the Red Hill Valley inquiry documents, because there's all sorts of emails that had to be shared, which showed that one guy wasn't talking to another guy, or, oh, we better not tell the councilor this, or it's just not right. And people know it's not right because we're going to spend over $20 million just finding out why the pavement problem was never addressed. And then we got to find out why for 5 years a gate was open that let 5 millions of liters of sewage go into Coots Paradise, our Dundas Marsh, and thus into the bay and thus into the lake. So these things have been going on since I left. And a lot of people suggested I should go back. And frankly, that's what I'm trying to do.
It worries me because I live in a place called Wasaga Beach. I don't know if you know the
Oh,
area.
well.
Actually,
Oh, well.
a buddy of yours lives here, Pete Martin, and we talked about you. But he's
I,
on his way, like you. He has a wedding to go to via Quebec in Boston. So he. Otherwise, I would have had him on here to come say hello and talk a little bit about your past.
we had a
He's
great,
doing well. You're doing well.
yeah.
Um, Here in Wasaga, we're having some issues. CTV doing a story. Things going on here that are raising eyebrows. I, as a resident and a taxpayer, am concerned. I like you, but not like you completely. I've decided to get involved and try to find out what's going on because we don't have the kind of coverage here that maybe this town should have. And I mention this not to make it about me, but to make it about you
Yeah.
and how responsibility sometimes we have to take it on. We have to do something. Bob, you owe nothing to the city of Hamilton. You have given a lot of your life to it. You have been a mayor. You've done your part. So now, what are the priorities? If you can give me a couple of when you go in, what do you feel needs to be fixed? You've talked about essentially a little bit of carelessness that has caused some problems for the environment. You've talked about some issues as far as finances are concerned, where there might be a little problem with that. Is there anything else that you're stumping on?
Well, it starts with something that I started with in the year 2010 when I became the mayor, and there's still on YouTube a video of me being interviewed saying, "What's your first priority?" And my first priority in 2010 was to live stream all of the committee meetings, because the public should have access to what's going on in City Hall, not hope that there's a reporter there and maybe get a paragraph. So that relates to today, openness and transparency. The public doesn't know what's going on. And even journalists who put FOI, Freedom of Information requests in, often get scuttled. So this is not right. And people will forgive mistakes. We all make mistakes, but they will not forgive lying, and they will not forgive arrogance. And for elected officials or bureaucrats to trump around as though they're something special and you leave it with us, we'll figure this out. Not right. So I think that is really the first priority, is to get the public involved in what's going on. But from the public's point of view, and this will be no shock to anybody watching or listening, is affordability. And we talk about getting affordable housing. I've always said an affordable house is a house you can afford. So it's not just a category of home based on income, because if an elderly person is living in a modest home and the taxes go too high, it's no longer an affordable house. So we have to keep an eye on all of that stuff. But unfortunately, the other people who are running seem to feel there's an open checkbook out there, and we're just going to get this and we're going to do that and we're going to add this. And no. The first thing we're going to do is sit down and reprioritize what the needs of the city are and go at it that way.
And I think you said also live within your means. And to do so, you have to be aware of how much money you have as a town, as a city, as a municipality. And then I guess the idea is from there you prioritize based on the money you have to spend because you, as the mayor of Hamilton, do not want to overspend.
No. So the problem is that a council can always borrow money. There are government loan programs and so on. So what you have to keep in mind is if there's something important that you need, and let's say it's affordable housing, social housing, fixing city housing, whatever it is, you can get match grant funds from the other levels of government based on whatever the programs are. But you have to have that space to borrow. It's like the city has a credit card, and if you go too close to that ceiling, you don't have the $35 million to match the federal provincial grants to go ahead and do that project because you've blown your money. And we blew a lot of money because the late Jim Flaherty, who was the finance minister under Stephen Harper, always said this, and I always quote him: when the cities, and they're always asking for money, what did you do with the money we already gave you? And I can give you a list of tens and tens of millions of dollars of wasted money in the city. So, and it takes someone who cares about that, because the easiest thing for a political candidate or even a person in office is to tell people what they're going to get. But everything they get, they pay for. It's their money. It's ridiculous. So we really have to be tough on that. And the mayor of Ottawa wasn't very tough on it, and he's no longer a candidate for mayor of Ottawa because of the debacle of their LRT system. And that is based on no transparency, no honesty. Public didn't know what was going on. And I'm afraid there's a lot of that around here too.
Yeah, we seem to have it here where I am as well. There's, I guess, the funny thing is, and I guess maybe I don't think right. I don't know, but it seems to me that even transparency is important because you don't want to be the smartest guy in the room or the smartest gal in the room. You really need the input of others who may have a better understanding of what you're looking into. The definition of leadership isn't being the smartest person in the room. It's being able to know, you know, um, where to get the best information.
Yeah, leadership is an interesting and an important quality and quantity. And leadership is based on teamwork, professionalism. You can't crawl in half undressed and start a committee meeting. Some of the people who show up for council, like, where were you? Wasaga Beach over the weekend and you forgot your
Yeah.
sleep?
All right. Throw us under the bus. Go ahead,
No, I
Bob.
haven't been on Wasaga Beach since I was a little boy. We used to get a group of cabins on the beach, and there used to be a tavern. I think it was called the Wasaga Inn, where all the adults would go while we were playing sandcastles down the beach.
Right.
And there was an amusement park way down on I guess, the west end of the beach. And no, Wasaga, I love it there. In
Let's
fact,
talk about Hamilton and how it's made strides. Here one has to realize that Hamilton is making a move to be more of a place to be. There's an image that Hamilton had. I don't think they have it anymore with the work that they've done at the city center. How much more can you improve the city center?
yeah, well, that really changed, and that was in my time, because when I started on city council in 2004, there hadn't been a construction crane for 25 years in downtown Hamilton, a privately funded construction crane. So the first one went up with a friend of mine who is a developer at the Staybridge Suites, but he had other property, and he said, I need some incentives to build. You can't just start building for no apparent reason. So the two things that were the big incentive were, I got a new GO station at the West Harbor. It's called the West Harbor GO Station. And McMaster came downtown, right across from City Hall, an $80 million medical clinic and facility. And those two things resulted in, there are now three towers almost across right beside that facility near City Hall, and a new hotel. And on that 1 acre of land, which as a vacant property yielded about $40,000 in taxes, that built up acre now yields about $1.4 million in taxes. Plus, it's full of people. And what the people do, they, they go out and buy things and go to restaurants. So that's a part of a partial answer to your what's been happening. And it's every year since 2010, we have done $1 billion or more in the value of building permits. And that's more than Mississauga. It's really a remarkable story. And now we understand that IKEA is looking, they bought a big piece of property on Hamilton Mountain. Amazon just built a huge, it's mind boggling the size of that building they've got because it's by our airport and our airport has no landing restrictions. So the flights come in all night and that's what cargo really needs. So that was the incentive for Amazon. And so one thing leads, there's no one magic bullet. A lot of things happen in the right way.
So what I'm gathering is a lot of what you just said is something that you'd like to go in and replicate.
Just keep it going. We fell off the tracks a little bit because, and to be fair to everybody, COVID didn't help anything. So, but it did reveal a lot of the weaknesses. For instance, the communication side. People are always complaining, oh, you call City Hall, you get it put on hold, nobody answers, or thank you very much, we'll get back to you. They never get back to you. That whole thing, right? So when my wife and I first applied for the jabs, you wait on your computer for I don't know half an hour and then it goes blank, and then you finally 2 days later you get somebody in St. Catharines and they apparently have some. Oh yeah, you can go to Wellington Street. Is that near you? Yeah, it's just down the block. Oh okay, go there tomorrow. Why was you know when Ticketmaster can sell 50,000 tickets in 20 minutes? Why can't we get people's appointments for COVID vaccines in a timely manner? We're way behind in applying the technology that's available today, Frank, to the needs of the citizens.
Yeah, the impression that I got, you never see those movies when you throw meat in a water full of piranha, getting all those those chances to jab, it gets like that. And for us, the experience was different, which wasn't likable either. Is you make an appointment, and being out here in Wasaga, we weren't, we didn't have the benefit of multiple, the amount of people that were involved, right, and getting and having the services to the same level that there are in Toronto. So we would be told, okay, you can go to Barrie or you want to go to St. Catharines, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I hear you, but I'm going to be. I like the words that you used earlier, and that is mistakes can be forgiven as long and I'll add this by saying as long as the process is made better because of the experience. And that's what has to happen. And sometimes I become very conflicted because I hear you wanting to come back, and here's this guy who's been the mayor, and he talks about stuff that I'm seeing everywhere. Municipal responsibility. I don't know what's happened over the past few years. I don't know if it's COVID and we haven't been able to, hold their hands to the fire. But there seems to be around a lot of municipalities a lot of infighting that goes beyond issue-based conversations.
Yeah. Well, the problem is most politicians are not as important as they think they are. It's it's the job that's important. You have to work in a collaborative manner with your colleagues. That's one thing we have not had in reasonable measure in Hamilton. Uh, the committee meeting, they drag on too long. Everybody's got too much to say. When I was a member of the Go Transit Board, our meetings were 90 minutes long, and we ran the most efficient public transportation system in the world, the Go system. And everybody had jobs. They're developers, vice presidents of companies, really busy people. And you know what they say, if you want something done, ask a busy person. So we didn't sit around and hem and haw for an hour and a half and, oh, yeah, I got an idea. No, we went over the agenda and we knocked off the agenda items. And unless somebody had something serious to say or a real different direction, the business of the meeting carried out. And I forget the cycle, every 2 weeks or whatever we met. And that was the Go Transit Board. And the city of Hamilton, not even close. And a lot of cities, not even close. Often, if you get the right mayor at the right time, because you talk about the strong mayor system, the strong mayors were the mayors who've been around for a long, long time. And so they outlast those other people. In our case, I was coming into a council that had been there for years and years, and I was the new guy. But that wasn't Hazel McCallion's situation in Mississauga. And the other guy who I like to quote or cite is Gordon Kranz, who is the mayor of Milton, who has been in that city's politics since about 1980. And this year he turns 85, and he's running again as the mayor of Milton. But you know what? It's the fastest growing community in Ontario, very progressive. And they got an old guy as the mayor, but they can't disrespect him because he's been there too long. And this whole notion of how mayors and councilors interact has led to Ford talking about a strong mayor system. Because in my case, I will need 50, 60, 70,000 votes to become the mayor again. Somebody might win a ward council seat with 1,500 votes. And you know, the strength of one versus the other is the same. I got one vote.
Yeah, it's
So
the same in every municipality. But don't mayors get to basically create the agenda,
no,
discuss the agenda in any way? Well, the negotiation process when you're working out a deal with, if somebody's buying, town or city land, isn't that the mayor that handles that, or do all the councilors sit in the room and talk with them?
well, council works on motion. So if you want to talk business, you bring a motion forward, somebody seconds it, and then you go around the circle. In the case of the getting the GO station, I asked in a discussion with the senior management team and council that their annual work plan, they would include things. And I said, I would like to put on this work plan a new GO station located at the James Street North track in time for the Pan Am Games. And that was accepted by council, and they put it on the work plan. But I don't think anybody expected it would happen. I think they thought, well, Bratina, he likes trains, and yeah, let's make him happy. In 2011, the first year I was on council, McGuinty approved that GO train. So you have to bring ideas forward. The other thing that's important for politicians and especially mayors is relationships. And an email to a lot of very important people, and I get a response. And I could tell you a whole bunch of stories like that, but I won't do it
Yeah,
now.
it's time. It's time. It's time for you to go. I
Yeah.
really, Mayor Bratina, I really appreciate you taking the time with us. I know you have a very important function to go to, and in fact, you're at the head of the table, so you can't be late. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. I hope someday we can continue this conversation when we're less pressed for time.
All right. And how's your Spanish, by the way?
Non hablo español.
No, not at all.
I'm Italian, so I can have a conversation, but it's kind of iffy at best.
Your producer was good.
Yeah, no, he's Spanish, true and true, and we, he has a newspaper that's that goes across the country, and we do stuff. I do sports stuff in English. It's a great relationship.
Good.
We try to be community conscious. We do a lot of things that. Let's just say there's not as much money in doing it, but you feel like you should do it. It's like I said about covering the news here and covering Wasaga Beach. I feel the voices aren't, the citizens. At some point, everybody should be heard. And thank you for listening to us, listening to
Thank
me,
you.
and allowing us to hear you.
That was a pleasure. Thanks so much, Frank.
All right. He's Robert Bratina. He used to be the mayor of Hamilton. He's back to being the mayor. Thank you, sir, for joining us. You've been watching Candid Frank Live's Open Forum, seen live Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Open Forum, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out spanglishworld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time, I'm Candid Frank.